My name is Alyssa Perez. I'm from the Bronx, Bronx born and raised. I'm an environmentalist. I self-proclaimed environmentalist. I do a lot of um, environmental education work and really just on the ground grassroots stuff. I like to stay connected to my local community. You can find me on istayblooming on Instagram. That's primarily the social platform that I use.
There are so many people with their own stories and philosophies. I will ask these people random questions which they have no prior knowledge of. My goal is for us to learn from the many lives and the many feelings of others.
Oof. I don't really know. Like,
Um, that's a tough one.
Wow, that's a interesting question. What do you think is the biggest sign of love?
The biggest sign of love is that's a great question. I think the best thing I could think of is when someone can put themselves to the side, like put your own needs to the side and say, okay, this is something we need to do together for you. I've been in situations like that myself, so I feel like that's something for me. I can be that see that being a sign of love.
Do you feel like you received that type of love?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. I like to surround myself with people who can hold space for other people.
What do you wish people understood about you?
That's a better question than the first question. For me, it's always been my mental health and like my, I guess, neurodivergence. That's the new word that a lot of people are using, and I think it is a great word to use. So that's something that the world at large doesn't always need to understand. Usually, it's people who have family who are affected that they feel the need to be more tapped into that knowledge and I guess I wish people understood that more about me because then I would feel I would feel more comfortable being myself, I guess, because people that suffer with or not suffer, but that live with neurodivergence, we often find ourselves masking it when we're around other people because we just want to fit in and get to what we're doing, like just be there for what we're there for, not shedding light on who we are and why we might be doing like some weird behavior.
Would you mind explaining a little more about the neurodivergent portion?
Sure. So neurodivergent to me means anybody who has like a different way of thinking, like than a neurotypical person, which is someone who are like, I guess, like in social situations, they can identify cues that neurodivergent might not be people might not be able to. They might handle work life situations a little bit better. I mean, it really. I don't want to call it like say neurodivergence equals mental health or mental illness. I feel like and this is, I'm just repeating things that I've been told. It's a spectrum, and people fall all over that spectrum. So, yeah, that's what neurodivergent means to me.
What makes you feel unsafe?
What makes me feel unsafe is, to be honest, like lack of community, lack of having that connection to outside of me. I mean, that also comes from my experience with mental health, where I feel like community really is essential. I mean, I really speak for myself, but I think this is a general thing that can work for everyone. But for me, community really, you can do a lot more together than you can alone. And that really means a lot to me. My family and my support, my little team of people, they mean a lot to me. I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, no, I love that answer because I feel like before the pandemic, everyone was very like, oh, it's just about me kind of thing. And then once the pandemic hit and all the stuff that's going on in the world, I think more and more we realize like we need our family, we need our loved ones, we need our community. You know, shit is getting real. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
What emotions do you tend to avoid?
Number one, anger. I mean, anger is like the face of something else. To me, that's what it is. Anytime I see another person use anger, I feel like, what else are you feeling? You know, that's my main question. I always ask myself that because I know, like, you know, I've been on both sides of projection. So I always like to like ask myself that question because really truly, and you can be angry because you're grieving, you could be angry because you're sad, you could be angry because you know you're jealous, and it's just usually a root of something else. And if you could just be honest with yourself, then you could work out that anger so much. So like, yeah, anger, bad.
In what ways do you self-soothe?
Oh my gosh. So this is where my neurodivergence comes into play because for me, self-soothing is very specific and intimate. I'm just gonna put it all out there. So like for me, I hum a lot, and my family and my really, really close loved ones are gonna laugh at this when they hear me say it because they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's getting into it." But I hum like a monotone, boring ass, no sound, no tune, no music, no beat, rhythm. I just hum. And it's the most calming thing. I've been doing it since I was a baby. So that's just my thing. I like to hum if the vibration feels good in my chest. So that's a coping thing that I've done since I was little. Yeah.
How would you describe your current life to your younger self?
How would I describe my current life to my younger self? You did all the things you thought you couldn't do. Like, I think that's the one thing I would say to my younger self is you're capable of doing all the things. You know, you just have to, what else would I say to her? That's a great question. That's such a good one. I've never thought about it. I really don't think about what I was. I feel like I oftentimes feel bad for my younger self, but I never like talk her up. Like I never am like. But I'm not sure why we do that. Why we're just like, ah, shame. Why did I feel those ways? We're never just like, ah, look at where I. Sorry, I'm like going on a tangent here. Okay, how can I better answer that? I want to like give you a good answer. So I would tell my younger self, you know, my current life is not the life you thought you wanted, but it is everything you needed. And to be, you know, I would tell my younger self that exactly that. You know, I wouldn't even change it.
What makes you feel defensive?
What makes me feel this defensive? I mean, the core of my being is like justice. I'm not sure why I was born this way. That's just who I am. So I always feel like when something doesn't naturally feel fair to me, I have to do something about it. So that's when like that's that moment where I'm just like, okay, I need to speak up. But that's usually when I feel like something just feels unjust. And I mean, for that could mean so many different things for so many different people, but for me, I am generally a really fair person. So I always try to think of both sides of the situation, how I would feel if I was wearing the other person's shoes. But definitely fairness is something that'll make me feel defensive.
What is your best feature?
My best feature, I would say my enthusiasm. Like everything, the things I love to share those things. And I feel like a lot of the time while I'm sharing the things I love, people feel that. And I love seeing that in a person. So like definitely my favorite because it's other people's favorite. Like I think it's a little cycle. We feed off of that energy, a lot of smiles and good feelings.
Yeah, no, I see that for me too. Where do you think that enthusiasm comes from?
I think it's, to be mad corny, it's just love. I think I have a very deep understanding of like unity and what it feels like to be connected to people, to our earth, and that oneness.
One more question into that. Where do you think that comes from? That whole unity and that feeling that you get and that love. Did that come from, let's say, your family, or do you feel like you were just naturally born like that?
It's a combination of like nature versus nurture. I do feel like I was born with an understanding of certain things, like a certain intuition. But then I also feel like I developed a lot of the senses too along the way. So it's a combination of those things. Like I wouldn't have been the person I am without either. So once again, my name is Alyssa Perez. You could find me at I Stay Blooming on Instagram. I am your local environmentalist from the Bronx. Um, the biggest thing I can close this off with is probably, give me a second to think about this. It's okay to sometimes be the toxic person, as long as you learn from it. As long as you do something about it when you're like, that was my fault, that was my bad. And like humility goes a long way. I feel like those are two things people do not say enough. We always want to talk about, oh, positive this, good person that, big ups, kudos to all the good things you're doing. But there's people who get left behind. We make bad choices sometimes. We're not always proud of. And you know what? There's the only support for those people is truly yourself, and it's okay to be the bad person as long as you do the right, you make the right move after realizing, you show a little humility.